This happened back in college, during a time when I was all about reinventing myself. I'd left my hometown, my high school reputation, and all the old me behind, and I was determined to make a fresh start. But of course, being me, I couldn't just start fresh in a normal way. No, I had to add a bizarre twist. On a whim, don't ask me why, I decided that my new personality would include being Australian. Yep, I'd introduce myself with a full-on Aussie accent. Honestly, I think it was because I watched an Australian surfer movie the week before I moved in and it seemed exotic. Maybe I thought it would make me seem mysterious. All I know is that on my first day of classes, I opened my mouth and out came my best "G'day, mate" in front of a lecture hall of strangers. And somehow they bought it. Suddenly, I was the cool Australian exchange student, and people were hooked. My classmates asked me all kinds of questions. Did I live near the Great Barrier Reef? I said yes, even though I wasn't sure exactly where that was. Had I ever seen a kangaroo? Of course, I'd seen heaps of them. Had I swum with sharks? Definitely, but only the little ones, mate. My fake accent quickly became my social identity. I couldn't believe how interested everyone was in my so-called Australian heritage. I would sit in the cafeteria, exaggerating every story and gesture, mimicking what I thought an Aussie would say. I even threw around phrases like fair dinkum and bloody hell, although in hindsight, I have no idea if they were even accurate. I just hoped no one would actually fact-check me. Things escalated pretty fast. Soon, I had to keep up the act everywhere, in the dorm, in class, even at parties. I'd find myself rattling off random Australian slang like crikey and calling everyone mate, despite it sounding just as awkward to me as it probably did to them. My Google search history became a rabbit hole of random Australian facts and slang guides just to make sure I didn't slip up. I was living in constant fear of being outed as a fraud, but also kind of loving the strange, new social life it brought me. I mean, who knew it could be so fun to be someone else? One night, I was at a party when someone handed me a can of Foster's, an Australian beer. "Here you go, mate. Thought you'd appreciate the taste of home," they said with a grin. I had never actually tasted Foster's before, and the first sip was absolutely horrendous. But I had no choice but to chug it down, pretending it was exactly like the beers I grew up with back in Melbourne. My popularity as the Aussie guy came with some real perks, too. One girl from my study group even invited me to a shrimps on the Barbie barbecue she was throwing, just for me. I didn't have the heart to tell her that Australians actually call them prawns, and that no one really says shrimp on the Barbie. Instead, I showed up, held the tongs like I was a pro, and made random comments about how much I missed the outback. But then, the inevitable happened. I met an actual Australian. We were at a casual club mixer, and I was deep in a conversation about my favorite Sydney beaches when someone behind me laughed and said, "G'day, mate. Nice try on the accent. Where are you really from?" I froze. Turning around, I came face to face with a guy in an Australian rugby jersey, looking at me with a smirk and raised eyebrows. "Oh, Melbourne," I stammered, my brain going into overdrive. He chuckled and asked which suburb, and of course, I had no idea. In a panic, I said, "Oh, right near the koala sanctuary." He just shook his head, laughed, and said, "Sure thing, mate, sure thing." After that, I was terrified of running into him again, worried he'd expose me to everyone. I started pulling back, avoiding places where he might be, and only going to parties or classes where I knew he wasn't. The whole situation was stressing me out, and I realized how ridiculous I'd been. But it was too late to back down now. By midterms, I started to feel like a secret agent living a double life. My phone was packed with alarms reminding me of fake details to remember, like Sydney Opera House facts and find another Aussie beer to pretend to like. I even downloaded some Australian podcasts to get the slang down, and I would listen to them late at night, repeating phrases like, "Good on you, mate, and she'll be right." My roommate caught me doing it once and gave me a look like I'd lost it. Eventually, I realized I couldn't keep this up forever. People started asking why I didn't sound as Australian as I used to, and I had to come up with an excuse fast. So I told everyone I was picking up an American accent from being here so long. A few people bought it, and I started toning down the accent bit by bit until it was practically gone. By the end of the semester, I was basically American again, and I made up a whole story about how I'd always been good at accents and was just trying something out. Surprisingly, people seemed to accept it, or maybe they were just glad I finally dropped the charade. But the worst part? Every now and then, one of my friends from that semester will bring it up, saying things like, "Remember when you were, like, basically Australian?" And every time, I cringe and try to laugh it off. Little do they know just how much commitment it took to keep that story going.